welcome to Two Wolf of Comics. My name is Steve.
And I'm Mike, and this is Gucci making out with me.
What the? Did you know we're recording right now? Jesus Christ.
Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I'm not ashamed.
It's that kind of web show right now.
Yeah, that's a different one I do.
Yeah, this is what I mean. What do you mean? You definitely make donations, but
Yeah.
nothing happens until you make those donations.
I was at work all day. She's missed me. She wants her daddy. And that's me. So I'm just gonna comfort her for as much as I can while we're doing this podcast.
I have nothing to prove to you guys.
Yeah,
that's the way it is.
Exactly.
But anyway, guys, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for our weekly review show. The battle between Marvel and DC and Image and Boom and all those guys is all done as far as the release dates go. And now we can finally, as the ashes smolder and the dust settles, we can finally review some of our funny books. Today it's just me and Mike. We don't have Patrick with us today.
He's studying for a test. What a nerd.
Yeah, what a nerd. I mean, we're talking about comics, and you're bettering your life. What kind of man are you? But anyway, don't worry. Me and Mike will hold down the fort. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of biz. There's no Batman to read anyway, so Patrick anyway. So anyway, Mike, let's get right into it. By the way, if you guys are new to this channel, if you go into the playlist, you'll find there's plenty of review shows you guys can check out. If there are any kind of back issues you guys want to catch up on a series, we review mostly the same books. Not the same books, but I mean, there's a theme going on with a bunch of us as far as what our preference for books is as far as Batman, Spider-Man goes. So if you guys are the fans of those type of characters, we can keep you up to speed with the review show as far as our reviews go. There's other kinds of playlists there. We have the runs, we have Friday Night Game Night, we have the news segments. If you guys want to get caught up on what's going on, or if you're on Twitter and you're like, what's going on? What are all these people talking about? Just go on to our news segments and you'll be able to find out what we're talking about. We get the tea. We get all the tea. So anyway, without further ado, guys, we're going to get right into it. Mike, we get some books we're going to read.
Yeah, we got quite a few to read this week, or we read this week, so yeah.
I got a handful. I read a bunch, but I'm only going to talk about a couple, though.
I've already read a lot, so I'm only going to review like 2 or 3. So
this ain't a book report. I'm not going to do all the work for you.
I stopped doing book reports in grade school, right? Those are behind me.
So, Mike,
for the most part.
What are you going to talk about first, Mike?
So I'm just going to get my dog, Gooch, nice and comfortable on her pillow here. I'm going to review Daredevil first. From this book has been consecutively great. One of Marvel's best books out there. Chip Zdarsky, they get it right this time, or Zip as I like to call him.
Yeah,
me and Chip Zip, it's our thing. We have this thing going. But this book has been consecutively awesome. The artwork has been great. I wish he stayed on. Well, who does the artwork here? Real quick. So I got the Timeless cover from Alex Ross. So
why wouldn't you?
Where is he? Marco Chietto. I butchered that, but he's been on our book before, and I know he's been on a few Spider-Man books too. So it's just been his artwork has been amazing.
Speaking of which, I did read this book, and there's a little cameo from somebody in here that probably made.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I'm going to focus more on that part of the review because that not just because it is the guest star is Spider-Man. Again, you guys know that's my favorite character, but I'll get to that. So just a quick recap. Accidentally Daredevil murdered someone in the past when he was getting back to his getting his sea legs back, so to speak.
Which a blind vigilante, it's about time this happened, honestly. I mean, it's supposed to have happened sooner.
Yeah, and and so I mean, come on, but then he turned himself in as Daredevil, not Matt Murdock, because in issue 20, volume 5, I think this is volume 6, because I think I have issue 20, actually I have issue 20, and I don't think this happened in this volume.
I think it's in volume 4 this actually happened. I think this was during Mark Waid's run. I think you're talking about it now. And then after that, there was, I think actually, who knows what volume it is, because Mark Waid's run also got relaunched in the middle of his run. And then Charles Soule took it over. And now this is a new volume. So I think we're on volume 8 of Daredevil, maybe. I
think so, because for the longest time that the world didn't know that Matt Murdock was Daredevil anymore, including all the superheroes, including Spider-Man, one of his best, superhero friends, even in normal day, everyday civilian life. Peter Parker and Matt Murdock were good friends. So where was I? All right. So he turned himself in. Froggy got Kristen McDuff, Matt Murdock's former lover, who doesn't remember that they were lovers or that he was Daredevil. Because again, the Purple Children erased the world's image of Matt Murdock as Daredevil. There he is.
What's up, bud?
Luke comes in and then Gucci comes in.
Yeah, you go on. I'll off camera see what the deal is.
All right.
Here.
I just want to be part of it. Hey, buddy.
I can't even. This is my son Lucas, guys. He's underage and he shouldn't be on camera right now.
And is really good at what's that game called? Fortnite.
Well, and yeah, he's very good at Fortnite. Yeah. So if you look up Bowser Jr. No, what's your
Dark Bowser 84.
Dark Bowser 84. Look him up and play.
Well, he's gonna get us the likes on video game stuff when we stop playing Fortnite. But
he's the real deal. So,
hey, buddy. So, I'm just so distracted now. So with the whole thing with Daredevil is that he turned himself in, not as Matt Murdock, but as Daredevil. And see, I'm so thrown off now. I'm so thrown off now. I'm so flabbergasted.
Have you been talking this whole time? All right. Bye, Luke.
Yeah, I stopped for a little bit. Well,
All right, shut the door.
See, this is what happens during live events. These things happen. Gucci comes down, Luke comes down. Bye.
Oh my God.
So it's almost like Daredevil's kind of making peace, trying to make amends with certain superheroes, or he's trying to get, in the previous issue, he's trying to get Iron Man to save Hell's Kitchen because he has all the money in the world. And this one, he lets the Kingpin know, Mayor Fisk is having a meeting, and he catches up with them saying, even from beyond prison, I'm going to be watching you guys.
Oh, from Matt Murdock. Yeah. I say too, this is my favorite rendition of the Kingpin since Frank Miller's run right now. I really like what he's doing with him. I love this, where you think it's like, oh, obviously there's something up his sleeve where he's just like, like he's playing this whole mayor thing to kind of but he's really like a Kingpin, but he's legit, listen, I want to be mayor. I want to do good by New York, but also you guys, I gotta be able to handle my shit too, because you guys, I put you guys in charge, said you guys be in charge of the crime, keep it to a minimum, and I won't bug you as long as nothing too crazy like you guys just did in the past story arc. But clearly you guys can't handle it, so I'm gonna put my own person in charge. And he puts what's her name in charge? I forget the name of the character.
I believe I forget her last name, but she was the one that was in control of Hell's Kitchen. She got the police out of there and whatnot, and this issue shows that Wilson Fisk is not afraid to get his hands dirty, because he basically smashes Hammerhead's face in.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying, I'm not going to be doing this alone. And this is where Spider-Man comes in.
Yep.
He called Spider-Man in because he wanted to make amends. He wanted to make peace with him. And then they have a little heart to heart. And he said the reason why Spider-Man went to him is because it made him so angry that he did that. Because back in the Wolverine versus Spider-Man issue,
my favorite Spider-Man comic of all time,
he accidentally killed someone.
Yep.
And he was like, so Spider-Man's guilt-ridden enough as it is. So he's like, I wish I turned myself in, but I didn't. I was so angry, and then Matt and then Daredevil and Spider-Man hugged. And the reason why I picked this issue is because I've always loved the friendship between Matt Murdock and Peter Parker, or Spider-Man and Daredevil. He's right up there with the Human Torch and their friendship with Spider-Man. Even Wolverine, then again, he did try to go after his wife and Civil War, but that's another story for another day. But
so to me,
I always hated how how Peter Parker didn't remember who he was. Just like during the whole, they basically Brand New Day with Daredevil, in whatever volume they did it in. The one thing I didn't like about it was that that deep connection they had, they didn't have it anymore, but they still had it as Daredevil and Spider-Man. And that's why, like in the beginning of Spencer's run, I didn't like how all the heroes, including Daredevil and the Human Torch, were mad at Spider-Man because he thought he was in ties with Kingpin. Right. Of all the people who would find that out that he was lying, that he was being truthful, that he wasn't, would be Daredevil.
Right.
So, right. I like that deep that connection they had with kind of like Spidey, we're friends again. I want to make peace with you because you kind of threatened you'd stop me yourself if I didn't stop myself and
Yeah.
whatnot. But
So to me, Human Torch is like Spider-Man's high school friend, and then
yeah,
like and Matt Murdock is like his adult friend, pretty much like he
yeah,
made like during college or after college, something like that. And like yeah, I do hope they find out each other's identities again. There's a nice little cliffhanger at the end, which coincided with the annual that came out a few months back. Right now,
yep.
where what's her name? Matt, the girl
I think
who
it's Mike Murdock now is his
Mike
name.
Murdock, who actually before was a made up character, but now has a full on like he had. If you guys read the annual, he had a full on like life that happened, like in a whole on history and like
Yeah.
a child and all that kind of stuff. So he's like kind of like willed into reality by the Hood, I think, is what it
Yeah,
was.
so like I don't remember exactly how. I mean, I know that I think that was just an alias from Matt Murdock way back when.
Yeah,
But at one point, the whole voodoo magic thing from the Hood, I think it was originally, kind of made him into existence way
yeah.
back when, and not way back when, like probably a few years ago. And now it's official. He's an actual, he's real, and he's going as. I don't think he's. I think he's. I don't know if he's masquerading as Matt Murdock or he's or he knows that he's just now that Mike Murdock is actually his twin brother now.
Well, Matt does know who he is now because
Yeah.
they showed that he actually had like there is a child, that there actually was a life, like him being born, growing up, and having a whole like relationship with Matt and his father and stuff like that. So we're gonna see the aftermath of that next issue, obviously. Whether or not he's here to kind of like just help, if he's here as an ally to Matt, or if he's here to kind of like messes up life up even further, that remains to be seen. But God damn, what a great run this is right now. I hope.
And you know what it is? I think that what's really going to happen is that he's going to take over as Matt Murdock for a while, and we're going to see Daredevil in prison.
Yeah.
And I mean, like honestly, they're going to keep his mask on the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a very interesting run of seeing him kicking ass in prison.
Well, a little Princeton Popper type storyline with Daredevil, which I mean, I in Zip I trust, honestly. What do you give this comic book for a rating? How many stars?
I give it a 5 out of 5. Artwork is great. The story's been great. This is currently my fourth favorite book. It's actually tied with Venom, which I'm going to be doing next after you review your book. But this book has been phenomenally great, and I've missed a few issues because of the whole of COVID going on. But this book has just been fantastic.
I agree. Same here. 5 stars. Good job, Zip. Good job, Eisner Award-winning writer Zip.
I hope he stays on it forever. Not forever, but I hope that they can have someone just as good as him follow up.
I mean, honestly, I mean, it's hard to tell right now. Who knows? It's gonna be long, and Marvel's always coming up with more up and coming talents with that. So I mean, who knows who's gonna be the next rising star at Marvel?
And the artwork's been pretty consecutive on this. They haven't really been switching out artists like they do in all the other books. I don't know if it's more of a low tier book compared to like Spider-Man or I don't remember.
See, I don't know why it is. I don't know why it's considered, because Daredevil has not been bad since the mid 90s. It hasn't had any bad runs really that I can think of really. So I don't know why. I mean, it just seems like and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the it feels like my little secret, even though it's not. It's the best book that you're not reading, or maybe you are, but it's just not getting enough press, which is fun. That's Daredevil right there. Speaking of Marvel and speaking of art, we're going to talk about Fantastic Four number 25, written by Dan Slott and art by new artist R.B. Silva. R.B. Silva was the artist on the House of X or House of 10 during that. He was probably the best thing about that storyline. So he jumps on this with a double-sized issue. We have this alien, like these two beings talking to each other, where this guy's kind of like looking over the earth, something like that. And by the way, the first page is beautiful. By the way, the art, R.B. Silva is really like kicked up a notch as far as art goes, and the coloring is amazing. But anyway, he's watching over Earth, and he's kind of scanning the Earth for this thing they're looking for, and there's a back and forth where they're talking about the mission and what that, and how he can destroy the Earth if he wanted to. And he's like, don't destroy the Earth. We need the thing that's on the Earth. And so anyway, he ends up thinking he sees it. So he goes to Earth, and we're at first he goes to the Baxter building. Oh no, this is before he goes to the Baxter building. I'm sorry. Let me stop for a second. Rewind. He goes to Latveria, sees Dr. Doom right there. And Dr. Doom supposedly has this like hidden chamber that no one knows about that has this item. And so the being goes there and he's ready to take the thing. At the same time, Sue Storm right now is on one of her Nick Fury covert missions, her solo missions away from the Fantastic Four that nobody knows about. Basically, she's on the same mission that the Nick Fury put her on, saying like, there's an item in there. All we need you to do is just turn the casing invisible so we can see what's inside of it and then leave. And that's it. No fighting, no nothing. The being comes to the Doom's castle at the same time, starts a bunch of shit, and Dr. Doom's like, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother fighting you because I know that I've already scanned you. I know you can just kill us all without even thinking. But you know what? I'm not gonna give you a prize. So he blows up whatever was in the casing thing. And so the guy's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And like Sue Storm's like, like what is going on? That's the thing he was looking for. Like, and you're getting rid of it. We don't know what it is yet. And so the guy's like, you know what? If he blew it up, he obviously doesn't have it. So he ends up scanning the alien, scans the Earth again. Locks in the Baxter building where the Fantastics are there with I don't know if you with what's his name, 2D Man, and a bunch of other like B-list Marvel characters from the West Coast Avengers are there. The guy obviously lays waste to them. And so Sue calls Reed Richards and says like, this someone's after like, this box, this like, this box, like, the mystery box right now. And Doom seems to think you have it, but you don't have it, right? You wouldn't keep a secret like that from me. And Reed Richards is like, we better get to the back of the building right now. And so we see we take a beat from right now to kind of see where the Fantastic Four assembling to go on this mission. We have Valerie and Franklin. Franklin's like full on like in the aftermath of Empire, like he's like really embracing his like mutant heritage right now. He has a bunch of like he's playing guitar, has a bunch of like like mutant bands and mutant posters and like
I sometimes forget that he's actually a mutant.
yeah, he's always been a mutant too. Ben goes in there and it's like, oh, you're really kind of like, like leaning into this whole mutant thing, huh? And like, and of course, like Franklin right now, if you haven't been reading Dan Slott's run, it's like this real like rebellious teen stage right now, dyeing his hair and really emoed out. So he's like, yeah, it's a mutant band. You wouldn't have never heard of him. And so like, Ben's trying to connect with him how he used to when he was a little kid, but obviously he's a teenager right now. And anybody with kids, we've all dealt with that. Well, he's like, well, anyway, we get new uniforms right now, which is something I'll get into in a second. Put the new uniforms.
Yeah, I was gonna say a certain artist that we know.
We'll get into that in a minute as I do the story. So anyway, they go there. Another thing I didn't mention, I didn't read Empire. I might go back and read it right now. Apparently, Ben and Alicia.
Don't waste your time.
What's that?
It was talking in space, basically. It was so boring.
Well, apparently, Ben and Alicia had adopted these two kids. These two, a Kree kid and a Skrull kid. And they're pretty funny. Like, I mean, obviously, like, the Kree kid is very like, bloodthirsty and like, wants to like kick everybody's ass. And
yeah, there was an issue, Fantastic Four issue. I don't know, I didn't get the next issue, but where Wolverine inadvertently stabbed one of them by accident. And I think it happened. It was a mini series, or it was actually part of the Fantastic Four run. But again, with COVID, I missed.
So anyway, they go down. So they're ready to take off, and of course, like Franklin and Valerie want to go with like like Johnny and Ben, but they're like, no, you gotta stay here. And so Valerie's like, she's like, this sucks, and she's kind of like, like what could possibly be that dangerous? Like we've lived here this long. Dad doesn't have any secrets, so she ends up like hacking the Fantastic Four files and finding out what it is, and she's like, oh, holy crap, we can get down there right now. And so she tries to take off, and Alicia's like, obviously babysitting them and saying like, you can't go anywhere. It's a school night, and plus you don't have a license. And she's like, so she's locked out of the system. She can't access the car. So one of the Skrull kids turns into She-Hulk in her Fantastic Four outfit and goes like, the voice recognition lets her take the car. They go down there. Doom's at the Baxter building, and they're all trying to like, figure out what to do. Reed's like, there's no way that guy can like, like get this box. It's gonna like, destroy the earth, blah, 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 typical Fantastic Four stuff. And so they like, well, none of us can stand a chance against him, but Franklin can like, has the power to like remake like realities and stuff like that. But he's been kind of, his power's been kind of off and on lately. So he kind of goes toe to toe with the guy and then like, gives him like his hardest punch and is like, well, that's it, isn't it? My powers are all drained out. And he's like, yep. And so like they get Franklin out of there. And Franklin runs off to like the gate where like he can get access Kuroka, and like he goes, all I need to do is like go there, and a billion mutants will come and bail us out, something like that. And because he doesn't have any powers, he's like, now it's kind of like, oh, does he even a mutant anymore? He can't access the portals because he has no mutant powers. Reed ends up using like, Dan Slott science and like, figuring out how to like, stop the thing, how like it does some kind of Doctor Who, like, it's fixed. And the guy can't like the aliens can't get the thing, but they, I'm sure they'll be back because the new characters are introduced. And so we end the issue with like, like the Sue and Reed going, all right, no more secrets right now, because like Reed finds out, Reed admits that he knows that Sue's been doing covert missions for Nick Fury, and like Sue's like, well, how long were you gonna tell me until you were in the Illuminati with your friends and this and that, and they're like, all right, no more secrets. And then like we have Ben putting the kids to bed with Alicia, saying like, oh, like like, well, Alicia's like, how can we raise the kids like this with this kind of stuff going on all the time? Like, they're never gonna have a normal life. And Ben's like, we'll just do what Reed and Sue do with their kids. They turned out all right. And like you see, like, Valerie like scheming all these like different problems on the wall, like, and like, obviously doing mad scientist stuff, and Franklin just like completely emoed out, like realizing he has no powers and like he's all depressed. And that's the story pretty much. We have another backup story with that it kind of mentions one of my least favorite Marvel stories, where Nick Fury killed the Watcher. We have the Watcher come back, and he's basically like, and he a two of the Watcher comes back, and he's like, what have you been doing? Like, and they kind of have a back and forth pretty much. And like, two was like, well, I'm back right now, and I don't trust the other Watcher since you haven't been punished, and since you like, they've been interfering more with things. We need to figure out what's going on. But you know what? I'm going to use you as like, my protector right now, a guy who can get shit done, pretty much. And that's where we kind of leave it. So the Watcher's back. That's obviously a subplot. We're gonna have some kind of like, Watcher wars. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's pretty much the issue. I haven't been following Dan Slott's Fantastic Four. The issues I did read, I didn't really enjoy that much. But honestly, this issue I kind of enjoyed a lot. It had a lot to do with the art. And the thing we're going to mention right now, that Mike was kind of alluding to, the Fantastic Four got new costumes in this issue right now, which were, and I know I may mention this many times, how like, I feel like, a lot of people like are picking my brain somehow as far as ideas go and designs. The Fantastic Four's costumes in this were very reminiscent. Less than a year ago, I was doing some costume designs for the Fantastic Four and posting on my Instagram page, and I'll put a picture of one on the clip art. And they were basically blue costumes with like a black like Dickie like aesthetic pretty much, and they all had these little like like silver nickel type like communicating devices thing, which would kind of track them and be able to talk to each other and communicate, that kind of thing. I open up this issue and see basically the same design as far as the color scheme goes. It has the black Dickie and the blue like top with the black gloves, the same thing as mine. And in two panels, we see Sue and Reed both have these little silver nickel communication devices which they can talk to each other on there. Going back and looking at the likes on my Instagram page, for that picture in particular was liked by Dan Slott, who was the writer of Fantastic Four. I since DM'd Mr. Slott and asked him, like, hey, did you have any input as far as the whole communicator thing goes and this and that? And he has yet to write back to me. I know the art was RB Silva. I know he would have came up with the actual designs. So, I mean, as far as the designs go, they weren't really reinventing the wheel. But the little communicator thing, and it's placed exactly where I put them on the costumes too, was a little fishy. So I'd like to get some clarity on that. So I think there may be a little poaching as far as like my designs go, the Fantastic Four. I don't ask for any. Maybe I want the same deal as the guy who created the black costume design. Give me $100. Yeah. But and like, honestly, I mean, RB Soul was a way better artist than I could ever be, and they look great. And and if they did, if I was inspired by what I drew, that's fine. I'm glad to participate, but a little vindication would be nice, to be honest with you. So that's Fantastic Four number 25. Pretty good issue. I think I might start picking up Fantastic Four now that the art's changed on there. What do you got, Mike?
So I got Venom number 29. Bada boom. Part 4 of Venom Beyond. So not much major stuff really happened in this issue. It was actually a relatively short issue. I think it was only like 20 pages.
Exposition in this.
Yeah. So the biggest thing about this book is that Anne of that Earth that they're on was telling him how her Dylan became, the head codex or whatever the hell he is in this issue. That basically she was pregnant. Who knows how? Either the symbiote impregnated her, or she's like Jesus, or Obi-Wan Kenobi's I'm sorry, Anakin Skywalker's mother. She just became pregnant. I'm assuming it was a symbiote somehow impregnated her.
I think it's about Mary, not G. I
Yeah,
don't think
Mary. Yeah. But Jesus was born from Mary. Listen, I haven't been to church and I'm a terrible Catholic. I'm admitting that. So there. No. Yeah. Anyways, so it seemed like in this world that Anne and Peter Parker were on. They knew who each other were. They were, and that they may have had a little love connection going on there.
That's what I thought. I thought you were gonna say the father was Peter. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Peter is the father, but
No.
there's definitely some romantic tension there. Especially, it's weird that she would fall in love with him, or there'd be any type of friendship or connection there, because in this world, Peter Parker revealed Eddie Brock as being a loser, and then Eddie Brock killed himself in that world. And then Anne Heche, or whatever her name, not Anne Heche, whatever her name is.
That's Ellen DeGeneres'
Whatever the hell her last name is.
Annie.
Is the Venom in this universe.
What a deep cut.
I know. That came out of left field.
I know.
Where's she at right now? So she, her Dylan was able to took a piece of the symbiote from her, because he's saying the light must die. He's running all of these weird, Knull symbols all over his room and whatnot. And from that, he was able to make more Venom seeds, and he was able to, infect hundreds and thousands, including the superheroes. And it seemed like he was the Venom of that universe. Well, in a Venom suit with, that looked like Eddie Brock's suit. Because Anne's more Agent Venom than just regular Venom, I guess. So,
yeah.
He was able to kind of infect people as well as everyone around the world, and he even affected all the heroes. And at one point, he just it seems like he kind of just took bond of them and killed off. It seems like all the heroes died, and that these new ones are just symbiote zombies.
Yep. Maybe just hanging on to skeletons or whatever, or dead bodies.
Yeah. Kind of like that what if issue of what if Spider-Man never lost his symbiote way back when, actually drawn by Mark Bagley, I believe. One of my favorite artists.
Speaking of art, you see who drew this issue?
Ross.
Luke Ross. I don't know if you remember Luke Ross.
Yeah.
Luke Ross used to draw Spectacular Spider-Man back during the post-Clone Saga.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is, woof! What happened to that guy's art?
I know. That's probably why I couldn't tell it was him, because I'm like, wow.
That guy back. I mean, I know we all get older and everything else, and maybe it's we change our styles. But that guy back on Spectacular, he used to be a cross between Tom McFarlane and J. Scott Campbell. He was great. And then I saw him. He'd been doing a lot of Dark Horse stuff, and he kind of changed his style up, where it was a more painted style, pretty much. But it wasn't But this right here just seems it's hey, can you bang this out over the weekend? You look at the inks, and it's clearly.
Well, it actually even seems like maybe someone else drew it, and he just got the credit for it or something.
It looks it's I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna shit on anybody's art right now, but this is definitely a classic cheap Marvel. Hey, here's a couple of bucks. Can you do this over the weekend? You got free Saturday.
I mean, it's decent art too. I'm not. It is pretty decent art, but it just doesn't. That's why I had to Luke Ross. Well, yeah, but that doesn't look like his artwork from back then.
So. To me, this is how Marvel, how you derail the momentum on a series right now. To me, honestly, when it comes to Venom, I love the book, but a big thing has to do is Ryan Stegman. So whenever Ryan Stegman's not on the book, it's always kind of and I know right now they're kind of they're holding him right now for that King in Black storyline right now. Which who knows if he's gonna come back to Venom after this? I mean, I know you mentioned you think they might be killing Eddie Brock off by the end of the storyline, so maybe
he might sacrifice himself, or he might get stopped before his son kills himself or sacrifices himself. I don't know.
But to me, putting someone like this rushed, cheap rushed art on there, really kind of you know what? I think I'll come back whenever the better art comes back. And honestly, I mean, what Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates are doing right now is they're becoming Marvel's worst fear right now, is where they become a creative team that doesn't need a Marvel logo to sell books. If you see Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, I'm buying it, whether it be Image, whether it be their own crowdfunded thing, or whether it be DC. And Marvel doesn't like that. Marvel doing with Ryan Stegman what they do with every big artist. It's probably what they wanted to do to Ryan Otley too. is they're making him special projects guy. Like, like you're in a contract, don't draw for another company, but like we're gonna break glass in case of need, in case we have like a big like crossover right
And
now.
it's a shame. Every book I think is suffering because of it.
It really is, really does.
Especially with Captain America, their artwork has been great on that, but like the latest art, it's been making it unreadable.
Ryan Stegman's joined that same class as like Oliver Copiel, Jim Chung, Steve McNiven, all those guys. Where they kind of like, no, when we're doing like Civil War #8, or like or the next like Secret War, then we'll take you out, something like that. But right now, like don't drawing monthly books because you're becoming too popular, and people like like buy your books and not Marvel books right now. And it's just that's when I saw this art, I'm like, if this is gonna continue, then like I mean, honestly, it's like you're gonna lose readership and you're gonna lose momentum on this book really fast.
Yeah, and comic books are already suffering as it is. You got to keep a consecutive artist on there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be complaining whatsoever that if it's just going to be Gleason and Mark Bagley on Spider-Man, but just keep them on it.
If you want to have 3 artists, you want to have 4 artists, that's fine. But like what, make them the artists. Don't like all of a sudden like have like Ryan Otley and then Patrick Gleason, and then all of a sudden who the fuck is this guy right now? Like who I never heard of before. Save them for a trial.
And that's the problem. They have a bunch of no names on there that I'm not bashing their art. I can't draw. You guys, you see my stick figures and all my garbage I draw, but like make it consecutive. Make it seem like it's almost similar to the artists before them. So it's not that always took me out of books when it was one, like you have one artist and then it's completely different for the next run.
Especially on a Donny Cates book. It's no secret now Donny Cates is the hottest writer in comics right now. Anything he's selling the books at Marvel right now. And that's no secret right now. And I'm sure he knows.
He made Venom one of their best characters.
So if Donny Cates is a hot writer, the new hotness, he's writing the best-selling books, and Venom's one of your best-selling books right now. Don't put cheap like here's $100. Draw draw 15 pages art. You don't want that. And I'm not bashing Luke Ross. I'm a Luke Ross fan from back in the day. But this is
this artwork's pretty decent, but like it just seems like even the last issue was a different artist too.
He could have spent you could give another week, and he would have had some better art on this for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed, and if it's and this is the art and promise the next issue, I may just wait for the storyline to be over and check out the trades after. But otherwise, I mean, it was kind of a filler issue with a lot of exposition anyway. It wasn't bad. Yeah. It definitely wasn't the best, but definitely the art really, really pulled me out of that book.
And it was a really short issue. I remember, I think it took me like 5-10 minutes to read this book. And I'm like, I had to go back and count the pages. I think it was like maybe 20, 21 issues, 21 pages. And it basically ends with, Matt Gargan from Earth Prime or 616, whatever you want to call it. Tracks them back, and Dylan uses his powers to take control of the symbiote to rip it off Mac, and they're basically going to use him because he's connected with the codex to go back and get the evil Dylan. So
how many stars do you give this book?
It wasn't the strongest Venom issue, so I'd probably give it more like a 3 out of 5.
So 2.5 stars for me. A lot of exposition, really bland, cheap art, and it seems like a real filler issue right now. They could have been like an annual or a backup story inside a Venom book.
And Marvel's doing it again with all the miniseries out of the miniseries or maxi series, whatever you want to call it. And I saw some of them, and a lot of them there's no need for it whatsoever. Let's see if I can get them real quick. It might be another issue. But one of them. But it was they have Doctor Doom and Iron Man. They have Namor, Submariner issue, and then like Agents of Atlantis. But yet the characters that actually bonded with them, like we're getting another Symbiote Spider-Man miniseries, which has always been a really great miniseries. That those books always took me back to the Spectacular issues. It made me feel like I was reading an issue of Spectacular way back when the 80s and whatnot.
But Marvel should be cutting back titles. Not. I mean, like I realize you want to have fun. You want to have Iron Man, Doctor Doom versus Santa Claus, that kind of thing. With Donny Cates, that's fun. But like right now, I mean, everybody's kind of trimming with that. You should be doing the same thing, not continuing to oversaturate the market with all these titles.
And I get it that people may not want to have to deal with the whole Nell storyline interfering with the other books, but I'd rather do it that way, like back in Civil War days where every book was affected by Civil War. And I still think if they're gonna do a major series like that, every book should be affected.
I'm the complete opposite. You can have as many series crossovers as you want, but if you have a Spider-Man event, make it only Spider-Man books. If you have a Venom event, only Venom, only X-Men. I don't want these big Civil War things anymore. I don't want these. I don't want to buy all these, like, the main book, then the 21 tie-ins and the aftermath and the pre-event. If you
Well, yeah, I agree. I just rather have it affect every series instead of it just being what they do now.
But they never do it anyway. If you're gonna do that, if you want a big event book, just have a big event book and make it monthly and make it that, like, if you want to have all the characters in one, just have that a monthly title where it's just like all the Marvel Universe book where you're dealing with these big events. Otherwise, stop with the bullshit, Marvel. I think we've all told you we don't want this. We don't want this anymore. And you said you weren't going to do it anymore. And then what you do, you waited to the worst possible time where comic book shops were closed, people didn't have any money, and you couldn't go out and pick up the books. And you're like, here's event, and like it's like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, and it's really putting it. I mean, like, I don't know.
It's almost like Marvel heard our complaints about, the Axel Alonso era of books.
Yep.
And now they listen to it. They getting back to the basics and whatnot. And then they do this again. They have all these miniseries like back to back, and at least the now one seems like it's gonna be fucking awesome. Not like the snooze fest that Empire was, but even before then, I think there was another series right before that too. And then you get the whole X-Men thing going on, and
I'm sick of this. Like, the Marvel. No, it's not. It's not going to change. I don't fucking give a shit. Marvel. It's not going to change. Yeah. Stop it. Just evolve your characters and do it in their own books. And that's why I say I didn't even get all fired up. I'm sorry.
I started. I mean that they're always trying to have that House M event, that Civil War event, but they don't. They get crap people on it.
Yeah. It's just it's enough's enough. I mean, I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Speaking of getting fired up right now, I'm going to another Marvel title I read today, Iron Man #2 by Chris Cantwell and Cafu. The art's great on this. You guys remember me reviewing the first issue? I was really excited about it, really pumped. This is the complete opposite. This book right here, I had to go to the doctors after I read this book because my eyes rolled in the back of my head so hard that I could not put them back. I had to go to an optometrist and they had to pull them back over. The last issue we kind of talked about from what we thought. Tony Stark was having kind of a midlife crisis. He sold a bunch of he took a buyout from his company. He's kind of slumming it in an apartment in New York right now, kind of getting back to the common people, trying to prove that he's like, the hero that he knows he is, and that he should be perceived as. He's kind of been doing some adventures with Hellcat right now. This issue right now, we have Tony Stark. He's what is he doing? Oh, he is getting a stress from Cardiac's in this issue right now.
Nice.
Cardiac, who say what you want about Dan Slotts right now, at least he added a little bit more to Cardiac, gave him some layers, made him like a little more three-dimensional of a character. This one, he's just like the writer just makes him, the system, society in the system, like, get it. I'm gonna kill these people because of society, and and it's like a huge step back from what Cardio has done as far as growth of the character. It's another team up with Hellcat and Tony right now.
Cardiac was in another issue, another Marvel book recently too, or this week. Maybe it was a dream. I remember him being in another issue, and it wasn't the Iron Man issue. So
anything to give Eric Larson a paycheck, I guess.
Yeah.
So they go to this thing. I guess I skipped a huge thing in the very beginning of this issue. We have Korvac back right now. If you guys remember, Korvac was a big storyline back I think in the late 80s or around that time. I think it's around the 80s sometime, or maybe it was the early 70s. I'm not sure. But anyway, he's back right now. They brought him back and to kind of do the bidding of this new Shadow Corporation. Of course, the Frankenstein's monster type thing where he's like, "You think I would help you? Like, your whole planet is full of nothing but war and people like pretending they like believe in God when you have a God right here and blah 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 blah." Maniacal laugh. So that's like a subplot they're doing right now. Korvac's back, and we'll see where that goes. We have Tony Stark. He answered a distress call with Hellcat. The people are dying who Cardiac has hostage. They're in this impenetrable dome. And Iron Man's like, what if I punch through this with full power? What will happen? So will my suit be able to stand it? And his suit's like, you'll probably shatter every bone in your arm. Who knows if you even survive it, something like But he's like, you know what? I'm gonna do it anyway. And he punches through the thing. Of course, he mangles his arm up, and that's when we kind of get the and of course, and after the whole thing is all said and done, they have Cardiac's getting arrested. He's doing a press release, and it turns out it seems like
Was he having a cardiac arrest?
he's cardiac arrest.
There you go.
And so the story ends up getting spun pretty much to Cardiac and Iron Man are two white privileged, not Cardiac's black, are two rich men who have benefited from the system, and and big pharma, blah blah blah, and they don't understand the disenfranchised, blah blah blah. So it ends up being Tony Stark risked his life to save these people, and people are still shitting on him right now because that's what Marvel's been doing with Tony Stark for the past 10 years. It's just making him this because he's a rich white man, which this is the part where made really kind of I checked out is when he's in the hospital and he's like, she's like, how are you paying for this? I don't think they're going to insure you. He's like, I'm not insured, so I'll probably be paying out of pocket. And Hellcat says, oh, of course you will, because you're, and she says, you look past your white male privilege for 2 seconds. And I immediately just groaned. I'm so fucking sick of this rhetoric right now where I'm not gonna get into it. I'll get into a big, huge, social discussion. But Chris Cantwell obviously couldn't help himself right now. The first issue was a great back to basics, 80s type, Marvel superhero story, and he just had to throw that in there right now. Where Patsy Walker has always been a friendly, someone who also has benefited from being a cute little white girl who was in these stories that her mother wrote and blah blah blah. But she's the first to call out where Iron Man's like, I do all this stuff, I save these people, but people still shit on me. And she's like, well, what can you expect? You have balls and testicles. And and that's really what it was. There was no other thing that you're rich and you're white, so you know what? You deserve any persecution that comes your way. You have it coming right now because you're a man and you're rich and you're white. And I was just, I was at that point, I never went from such a 180 from a book that I was enjoying so much and I was so excited about, saying, you know what, I give every new creator 3 issues, and this is number 2. So right now you're 1 for 1. You're 1 for 2 right now. So we'll see how the next issue goes right now. But yeah, I mean the art was great, but I really could have done without that cringy moment with Hellcat. And
yeah, Marvel's always, even DC too, probably has always had current events somewhat come into their books, but it felt more natural back in the day. When Stan Lee was doing the Spider-Man, we did the drugs issues or the civil rights issues, or the students, holding signs and I don't want to say not rioting, but protesting, the dorms being too expensive. It always felt natural, and it feels like the current writers are just forcing their agenda.
It's buzzwords. It's buzzwords, and it was so needless. You could have said, "Well, yeah, because you're rich and you're unrelatable and you're kind of an asshole." But but the thing is, these young writers right now, like Chris Cantwell right now, who's kind of a newcomer, doesn't understand equality. He can't he doesn't know how to lift up one gender or disenfranchised person without knocking down another one, without holding down another one. Where it's it almost feels and how his perspective of equality is everybody rise up, and then one person is what about me? They're shut the fuck up and stay down there. I'm lifting everybody else up, and it really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I hope he can kind of contain himself as far as those kind of things go. I don't want it in an. I mean, for someone who's trying to be an Iron Man fan, because I've always tried to get into Iron Man because I think he can be an interesting character when done right. But somebody always fumbles the ball, it seems like this guy is doing right now. Yeah, that's Iron Man number 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marvel. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I don't know who's asking for these books. And and I go on Twitter, and it's it always seems like these people who are praising these things. There's no Marvel fans, I don't think. I think it's just a bunch of people who know people who work at Marvel, or friends that are just praising each other's work. Because honestly, I can't.
They're pushing their own biased agenda.
Yeah,
and there's other ways you can do that where it's more natural. Like they did back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and even during 9/11, where I'm sure there was some Captain America issues where, Arabic people were being, or Islamic people were being persecuted against in the book, but they did it more naturally, and just now people putting their personal agendas on it, and it's like you need to keep that out of the book. So you need to do it in a way where it feels more natural, and I don't know. That's a rabbit hole we'll get down that we don't want to get down to because
I like the Twitter thing. I like that last issue because it was funny and it was realistic. But this was just like now it's like, oh, you're making fun of Twitter in one issue, and now you're acting exactly like somebody on Twitter would in this issue right now. But you're writing the book. Yeah. Also, the thing I didn't really enjoy about it is what I thought was happening was Tony Stark was having like a midlife crisis and that kind of thing, and that would be kind of a fun thing to explore or an interesting thing to explore. But now it's pretty apparent that somebody's read Born Again from Daredevil, and also I'm gonna dissect this Tony Stark right now, and he's gonna be we don't know what's wrong with him. He's self-destructive and depressed, and we don't know why. The same thing that other shitty writers like Tom King and a bunch of others do, where it's like that. I'm gonna deconstruct this character, and it's never been done before because there's a secret book called Daredevil Born Again that no one's read before because it's in the 80s, and I think and the way I write, I think all comic book readers are in their 20s and younger, even though they're not. They're all people who know what you're doing and get the fuck out of here with this.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, at least when they did Daredevil Born Again like 9 times in Daredevil, it was still actually pretty decent when they did it with him. But yeah,
one star. I like the art. The art was good, but that's it. Did not enjoy Iron Man 2. Do you get any other books, Mike? I got a couple.
I did. As you guys know, I love Marvel's X. It's literally the one thing I've been looking forward to the most from Marvel as a miniseries. I look forward to every month where, I'm not like, okay, what else are they gonna do with Spider-Man that's gonna make me happy, or blah blah blah, or Daredevil's phenomenal, or X-Men. But basically, the whole part of this book is the biggest reveal is during Earth X and Paradise X and all that. We never found out who the new Daredevil was. We all thought it was like Johnny Cage. It was a Ghost Rider, or whatever. We never found out who it was. At least I don't remember. And in this issue, it all ends with the reason why they couldn't find a cure from David was that he actually already was mutated. He was immortal. He gets killed by a mutated Mark Gargan, the Scorpion, which I don't know if it was him or not, because I think he already had I know the TV show kind of irritated his blood into like a scorpion type, radioactive scorpion. But I don't remember they did that in the actual
Nightmare, yeah.
Yeah. But mutated scorpion poisoned him because he was. What happened is that all the mutants attacked the Baxter building. They kind of like transformed him into the negative zone, and Cap's shield gets like thrown aside, and David tries to go get it, and he gets it for Cap as he's trying to protect himself to give him the shield, and Scorpion stings him in the back, seemingly killing him. And we find out that Nighthawk finds out that he's still alive, digs him up, they bury him because he's dead. But we basically find out that he had a mutation and that he was immortal the whole time, and to kind of like honor Daredevil, because Daredevil gets killed by Elektra, I believe, in the that Wizard 1.5 issue. But that's that's going way back. But we find out that he is the Daredevil of Earth X, and I don't think that's ever been revealed. So that was kind of a nice little tie-in.
A long time coming, yeah.
Yeah. And it makes sense that we know that there wasn't going to be a cure. At least, they weren't going to be able to find a cure, in this. So it was a nice little tie-in to the series where, I kind of thought like what's going to happen, how they're going to,
Hey, Mike,
no, there's going to be a cure. What's up?
Oh, hit your mic or something like that. I'm doing the robot voice again.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, actually, you're doing it right now. All right. Talk.
I am Iron Man.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's a little body, a little Optimus Prime. But
the biggest reveal is that David was the new Daredevil of Earth X. It was a nice little closure, so to speak, or filling in the story.
Gotcha.
2 thumbs up, 5 out of 5.
Awesome. Well, seems that we're falling apart technically right now. Not technically in the figurative sense, but technically like.
We'll do that next time.
Yeah, he'll do it next time. I'm gonna give a couple of recommendations real quick. I was gonna go over the books, but I think we're running out of time right now. So I'm gonna give 2 recommendations. One is gonna be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 110 by Sophie Campbell and art by Jody Nishiyama, I think. Really, I mean, like, the book right now is kind of in a transitional phase after Tom Waltz left during the original run. Sophie Campbell's kind of turned to a great fun, like, furries type book right now, which, like, I can do with a little bit more action, but, like, there's just enough to kind of keep me satisfied right now.
I think it's building up to something bigger. And I actually like how they kind of mutated town of New York where the turtles can actually have, relationships.
I do like that status quo, and I do like how they're solving a lot of, and Sophie Campbell's take, obviously, where they solve a lot of problems without, like, like knocking somebody out, where they actually kind of come to peaceful resolutions. It's pretty good. I really like that book a lot. It's consistently good. The other one is going to be The White Knight Presents Harley Quinn by Katana Collins and Mario Scalraga, I think. It's with covers by, the style's very akin to Sean Gordon Murphy, who this takes place in his universe in the White Knight series. He kind of picks up after where the Curse of the White Knight left off. We have Bruce Wayne in jail and Harley Quinn raising her kids. And this one kind of, she doesn't know what to do with her life pretty much. So she kind of turns to being like almost like they kind of like inadvertently asked for her expertise on a certain on a copycat Joker killing, and now she's kind of like becoming, like, since she's an expert on it, she's kind of like involved in the case a little bit, kind of becoming a little bit of detective, kind of becoming a good guy on it. And they're honestly they're leaning into the shipping of Bruce Wayne and Harley Quinn, I think, a little bit too, which I mentioned in the previous episode with Batman 100, I think. But it's a pretty good book, first issue in. I'm a big fan of the Murphy verse, I guess you would call it, as far as Batman goes, and those are my recommendations. Go check those books out. And I think that's gonna do it for this episode, Mike.
Real quick, I do recommend the Power Rangers book too.
Always a Power Rangers book, yeah.
I've said many times before that my top two books are Turtles and Power Rangers. I've been a Turtles fan first, so that's why it's my number one. And literally, Power Rangers is literally hugging at the doorsteps of number one. So that's how close they are. But yeah, pick up that book if you like a full story while still telling part of a story arc without getting a quick issue like Venom we just got. Pick it up. It's a great book.
I agree. So that's gonna do it for us this time, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe and to hit the bell notification so you can get more videos showing up. It's for Cake Burger, delicious goodness, and that's gonna do it for us, guys. We'll see you next week, right?
Yeah, he'll be here.
Bye, guys.
Out a little bit.
Later.